Bobby Rock?
Lies, shenanigans.
What's on your mind
Yes,
tonight?
yes. Unfortunately, we need to talk about this. Just another tragic shooting of a young black male in America. So on April 11th, Daunte Demetrius Wright, a 20-year-old African American man, was fatally shot by police officer Kim Potter during a traffic stop in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. After he was shot, he attempted to flee, but his vehicle crashed into a cement barrier and subsequently died of the gun injury. When the officers had run his name through the police database, they learned that he had an open arrest warrant stemming from pending charges for a robbery with a gun, and he had posted a $100,000 bail. And this was the basis that they used when they attempted to arrest him. So Kim Potter, at the time during the altercation, who shot him, thought that she had unholstered her taser. We're going to have a short little video of this. Actually, if Neil, you're behind the scenes.
Video of this.
So we have the officers trying to handcuff Mr. Wright to his vehicle. We apologize for the quality of the audio.
Man.
So he breaks away from the handcuffs, and when they're trying to retrieve him, so we can hear Kim Potter shouting, "Taser, taser, taser." And then when she hears the gunshot, reacts immediately and says, "Oh shit, I shot him." So that's absolutely coming under fire because this is a police trainer who's been with the force for 26 years. So to have pulled out the wrong tool in the line of duty that results in the death of a citizen or a civilian is just it's shameful. It's terrible. So I don't really have any question. Since then, Kim Potter today was charged with second-degree manslaughter, and she has resigned from her post. Police Chief Tim Gannon also resigned from his post after he addressed the newsfeed saying that this was an accidental discharge. So I'm looking to my co-host because I want to get impressions, I want to get feelings, and in light of, we started talking about George Floyd about a year ago. Where do we go from here? Because this is an ongoing issue. Johnny?
So let's start with Gianni. Yeah, let's start with Gianni Storm.
When I saw it, I think I saw it in like my Apple News app, and I got into it. I immediately felt numb, only because I feel like, of course, we've seen this before, but it's always interesting each case because it always brings about a new perspective, because it's like, not only in this case was it heated, like last week we talked about how officers are often in fear and that's what they're acting out of, but also it was the officer, she was on the force for, I believe, I think it was up to over 10 years. So it was like a lack of
26-year
training.
veteran.
Oh,
She's a
26
26-year
years.
veteran, and she also is a police trainer. So she is someone who trains other officers on the proper use of their equipment and how to perform a proper stop, proper arrests.
And that makes me feel like
training someone that day, like she was training someone in this incident. Someone she was training was on scene for
crazy.
this. I could be wrong, but that was one of the reports that about this. Gianni, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, I feel like this situation, like Rob was saying, where do we come from, like from George Floyd and to now? I feel like this situation calls and stresses the importance of like these high risk areas that have like corrupt police, forces. I feel like we need to start changing them. We need to start integrating them. We need to start doing something. And I feel like this unfortunate example could be that spark, hopefully, so that we can stop doing this. We can stop repeating this. I don't know, it's no words. Like, it's just like, okay, again, then we got to think of another way to like be like, oh, this is disgusting. It's more than disgusting. It's like numbing now. Like, it is.
Jose?
I don't know what to think. I'll be very honest with you because, could it have been an accident? I'm looking at the taser and the gun that were, believed to be used, and they are both very similar. However, I feel like when you get dressed in the morning, you know that on your right side, you have your gun, and on your left side, you have your taser. At the end of the day, these cops are here to try to protect us, and it's not been happening. So when are we going to start training them properly to I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss because at one point I'm thinking, okay, you know what? Maybe it was an accident. Maybe, it was just heat of the moment. And then I read something today online saying that this wasn't the first time that Potter was dealing with an aftermath of a police shooting someone. Because back in 2019, there's police that fatally shot a man who was threatening his grandfather with a knife and hammer. The use of deadly force by police in that incident was ruled lawful, as per the reports. In accordance with Brooklyn Center Police Department policies, Potter, she was not present at that time, gave instructions to the two officers involved in the shooting to get into different police cars, turn off their body cams, and not speak to each other. Now, I'm sure that's probably policy and procedures if that happens, but I'm having my doubts. There's just been too many of these accidental shootings. We need to do something. These cops, they need to get the help for mental health as well, because that they're afraid right now. That I just read again today, a police officer was shot, routine traffic stop. So yeah, they're scared.
But everyone's on edge.
Right? That's exactly it, Johnny. Everyone's on edge, and it's just senseless, absolutely senseless again. I just, I'm looking to, I want to know what the audience thinks. I'm looking for other people's perspectives too.
I just want to give, before we go to the audience, I just want to, point out a couple of things that I noticed or took note of about this incident. First, if we go back to, are we able to, Neo, go back to the video? Okay. So if we're looking at the video here, the officer is trying to put handcuffs on Mr. Wright. He's seemingly not, he's not posing a threat. He's not resisting. So my question is, why did Officer Potter approach this officer and Mr. Wright to begin with? She's the one whose body camera is on. So we get this footage from her body camera. Initially, when this starts, she's standing behind, away from both the officer and both Mr. Wright. The officer is attempting to put handcuffs on Mr. Wright. He's not resisting yet. He may be talking. We can't really hear exactly what he's saying, even when the audio's up. But she comes and she puts her hands on him. So now he has two people on him. So now he's afraid. And then when she draws her weapon and she discharges it, she doesn't shoot immediately. Initially, she says, "I'm going to taser you."
3 times.
And then but even before that, Jose, before she says taser, 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 she says, "I'm going to taser you." Then there's a pause. Then she says, "Taser, taser, taser." From what we can see on the body cam, we could see her weapon. I can see that weapon has no yellow on it whatsoever. I can see that weapon that she has in her hand would not be identifiable to her as a taser. And so my question is how do we get to this place where you are the person who puts your weaponry on your body every day? And protocol suggests for Brooklyn Center that they put their service weapon on their dominant side. So if you're left-handed, your service weapon goes on your left. If your service weapon goes on your right hand, and then the taser goes on the opposite side. So did she make a mistake then in putting the taser on the wrong side? Did she make a mistake, or was she not paying attention when she drew her weapon and could, in my opinion, should have been able to visibly see that this was not a taser? And so I'm just like, I don't, for like Rob said, she's been on the force for 26 years. She's training people. How does the trainer get it wrong? And then it results
Do
in
you
the
feel
lawsuit.
like she did that as a cover up? Like she was just saying taser, taser, taser to kind of like, because she knows she was being watched via body cam. Do you think it was like a
No,
cover up to be like,
I honestly think that this was an adrenaline-induced moment because there's, if she, especially, I didn't realize this was a training moment too, that she had someone under her wing. So she's responsible for that person. That's a heightened sense of responsibility, anxiety, if you will. And
pressure? Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, I've never been in a situation like that, thankfully, and nor have I had a lethal and non-lethal option available to me that is very similar in styling. And I know that if it's an adrenaline moment where I need to react, I'm going to react with my dominant hand. And I recognize that this person has specialized training and should have reacted differently, but they did not. But once that weapon is drawn, if it feels the same way, and once it's drawn, you're not going to reholster and pull another one out. So I honestly think that she pulled out the wrong tool, and it happened so quickly. I don't know that she was fully aware of what she actually had in hand. But
I,
it's there
I
was no
So it was a matter
reason.
of,
Like my cousin George put it up there. It's accident or not. Deadly force wasn't justified in these circumstances. He wasn't attempting to flee at the moment. He didn't pose a risk to the officers. And you're right, Liz. It's not until she puts her hands on him when he now has two officers holding him.
I
That's
would
when he
also
tries to flee. That's when he gets scared and bolts.
question even the procedure with the officer who is trying to handcuff. Like, is it normal procedure and protocol that you try to apprehend or handcuff someone in front of an open door where they have the ability to try to get in the car? Aren't you supposed to move
on the
move
hood? Yeah.
closer to the either in the front or to the back of the car where you are in complete control of the circumstance? But I
Mhm.
agree with Robin. I don't think that she woke up or came to the scene of this crime intending to kill someone. However, her overwhelming negligence here, again, cost someone their life. It's just like the
Mhm.
case in Texas a couple of years ago with the cop who went to her home, went to her apartment complex, but went to the wrong floor, the wrong apartment, burst in the
Oh
door,
yeah.
shot the occupant. Oops, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought I was in my own apartment. Same thing here. Oops, I'm sorry. I thought I had my taser when I really had my Glock. Like there's a complete disconnect here with the training of these officers. And it's causing the death not only of citizens, but so far as we've seen, of Black citizens, of Black males. And so
Why is it?
that's why I'm triggered.
My question now, seeing the video again, is that once the car pulls away, you see there's not one, there's not two, but there's three cops. You see, Kim Potter has her camera on, there's a cop across the way, and there's one to her right. There were three cops. You mean to tell me that three cops could not apprehend without violent force, without a taser, a 20-year-old kid who's by himself? Like that, this to me,
Yeah.
there was already a cop taking care of trying to handcuff him, and she just comes in and grabs him as well. Like if you look at, so you know what? It's supposed to be a traffic stop. Okay. And I'm going to address a question here from Sherry, is that, why did we use excessive force, if it was just a routine traffic stop? There was a warrant for his arrest as well, right? So, okay, so we're going to see what's going on, but you're three cops. Taser should have never have come out for this. That kid was scared and he tried to make a run for it. And then everyone lost their shit. And that's where they didn't think. And that's like epic training fail.
And I think one of
Right.
the key things you just said, Jose, was that he was 20 years old and he was scared. We often hear police officers say the reason why they discharge their because they're in fear for their lives, right?
Yeah.
So if that's your excuse, why is it frowned upon if a potential suspect, someone who is being apprehended, don't they have the right to be scared too? Like, why is it always,
Absolutely.
oh, well, he shouldn't have resisted or whatever? This kid called his mom. When they first pulled him over, he called his mother on the phone and was like, they're pulling me over. They're saying that I have a warrant or something like that. And there's been some question about exactly what the initial infraction was, because initially I heard it was over him smoking weed when he was whatever, and he missed a court date. And then it came out that, okay, it could have been because of a gun charge and he missed a
Mhm.
court date. And then it was put out there, well, a lot of people are missing court dates or are not getting their summons to court because of COVID, because of the
Yes.
crisis with COVID. So there are a lot of variables here that at the end of the day, like Jose said, like Gianni and Rob said, that should not have resulted in a quick, let me pull out
No.
any weapon. I mean, I would have preferred,
Yeah.
quite honestly, if you're going to pull out a weapon, I would have preferred you pull out your baton. Hit
I
him in the
was just
knee.
about to
Yeah.
say that. Exactly.
Hit him
Because you
in
know
the knee.
what? Those things hurt, but at least the person
They
is still
do.
alive.
But you're
Yeah.
alive. You walk away from that. Now it's just shoot first, regardless.
Mhm.
Regardless.
And
Yeah.
whether or not it was an accident, think about it. I mean, it's not just one life that's lost. It's this kid's son. He has a son, his family. Now, this cop that shot this kid as well, her life is ruined. Her family's life is ruined. You know what I mean? So it's just,
Absolutely.
I don't know, think before you act. Just take that 2 seconds. I did not see a threat from this kid. I mean, I didn't see at any point or time did I feel like he was pulling out a knife or a gun or anything like that. He was scared because not only was he being handcuffed, he had another person come up and grab him as well. Whoa, hold the bus, Gus. Enough.
Mhm.
So I would have been scared too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are tons of, other things that we can point to as a reason why he acted the way he did. But you are the police officers involved. You guys are the ones with the training. Like, it should never come to this. So I don't know how we get away from this, because like Gianni said, we were just talking about a similar situation. Thankfully, no one died. No one was shot. He was tased, but we were just talking about a similar situation that we discussed on Sunday's show, from an incident where an army lieutenant was pulled
Yeah.
over.
Yes.
Again, expired tags. And he was tasered for no reason. This guy offered no resistance, was still in his car with his arms out side of the car.
Mhm.
And he still was tased, dragged out, beaten on the ground. So we got to do
Yeah.
better. Hey, Gingy, what's up, girl? What's up, Gingy?
So
We got to do better.
one last point that I would like to make is that the kit that police officers are provided with needs to be different. Your lethal and non-lethal options should not both be in a pistol style, because while I'm not removing anybody's culpability, they're absolutely responsible. Former officer Potter is absolutely responsible for her actions.
Mm-hmm.
But if your brain is operating on adrenaline and on instinct, and you grab something that feels like your taser but is actually your gun, you're going to still use that tool.
So let's just keep this picture up for a second. Keep going, Rob. Keep talking.
Yeah. So I would really I know that Axon, the manufacturer of these tasers, has received some backlash and some pressure from the public to change the style of their product because of its resemblance to a gun. The yellow highly contrasts it, makes it look more like a phaser from Star Trek or whatever, but it's still a hilt with a trigger and that barrel style that you're just going to point and shoot. Um, and this is one of the models that looks least like a gun. If you look at the Axon website, they look very similar to the Glock, which is just really scary. So I think that there needs to be some fundamental change in the kit to help prevent this stuff from happening in future instances.
And see,
I have a question.
Go ahead, Jose.
My, just thinking about this, and we know how the US loves to sue people. So now I am wondering, are these companies that are producing these tasers, are they going to have heavy lawsuits? Are people going to start suing them because it resembles too much of a gun?
I feel like
I would imagine that could be the case. Although, if you look at past cases where people have been killed because a cop mistook their air rifle or their BB gun or their water gun, I don't think, from my recollection, I don't think any of those particular companies have been sued, but I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised, least bit. My thing is, and I've never held either of those two weapons. Okay, so let's just put it out there. This is not my area of expertise at all. However, to me, those weapons, on the outside looking in, do not resemble one another the least little bit. And again, we're talking about trained officers. And according to the information that, we got about those two weapons, so the Glock was the weapon on the top, the taser was the weapon on the bottom, the Glock is black, the taser is yellow. According to the information that I read, for this particular police department, the Glock models that they use are 3 times as heavy as the tasers that they use.
Okay.
And so that goes back to my initial point where and maybe, Rob is right. This was just a complete adrenaline rush, but so many things went wrong here. So many things went wrong here. And if you are responsible for a weapon, it's your job to know the proper use of that weapon and be aware of your surroundings, if you will. And these police officers aren't doing that. It's just, let me go. Ask questions later. Boom, boom, boom. Ask questions later. So, in this segment, we're just saying, hopefully this will be the last story we hear like this, of this. Obviously, I think that's wishful thinking, but hopefully this will be the last story we hear like this. Oh, everyone, please be careful. Please be careful out. Because I think even coming out of the pandemic, a lot of people are just coming out of their houses for the first time. They're just driving around for the first time. And so any reservation they have had pre-pandemic have fallen by the wayside post-pandemic, and they're just happy to be outside. And then all of a sudden, they're confronted with a bunch of officers. So everyone, please be careful. Please be careful. Thank you for that, Rob B. Thank you for that, Rob B. And everyone, please, pay attention, because this is an evolving story, ever-changing story. There'll be updates as we move along over the next couple of weeks. All right. So let's move on to our next